Welcome back everybody. Today we're going over the BCM Mk12 Mod0 rifle that you see right here. In terms of Mk12s, there is a ton of information on them and the different variants that were out there, how they were issued, when they were issued, and what configuration with which parts. Really, you can go down a huge rabbit hole if you're actually trying to build these correct for a certain year and correct for a certain theater and correct for a certain branch, because of course the Navy, the Army, and the Marine Corps all adopted these rifles in various forms. So if you're interested in all the different variants and stuff like that, I'm going to put a link down below in the video description to a thread over on ar15.com, which has more information than anywhere else I've ever seen. And you guys can check that out and see what's actually correct for the Mod0, because of course there's a lot of different things that are correct. Now this one here is the Mod0. That generally refers to the handguard that you see here, which is the PRI. We'll get into that a little bit later more in detail. And most Mod0s actually came with a fixed buttstock, either A1 or A2. This one here comes with the collapsible buttstock, but BCM offers them in both configurations as complete rifles. So this one here is sort of a hybrid with the collapsible stock. So a lot of the collapsible stocks were seen on Mod 1s and Mod 0s, but the Mod H almost always had collapsible stocks, but it had a 16-inch barrel. So this one sort of is a hybrid between a Mod 0 and a Mod H. Either way, it's a very cool piece of military history that you can purchase and obviously enjoy yourself. So what we're going to do is step outside, do a little accuracy testing with it, because one thing this thing is known for is having exceptional accuracy. And we'll see what we can get out of it with this guy behind the trigger. And then we'll come back in and talk about the details of the rifle and sort of what we thought of it overall.
Now we're going to see what kind of accuracy we can get out of this rifle here. The only thing we've changed from the way it came from the factory is I actually put the Geissele trigger in there to make it sort of correct. So it's a really nice two-stage trigger, which is awesome. For glass, we have the primary arms 1x8 Platinum series, which is a phenomenal scope. And then sitting in an American Defense manufacturing mount. So pretty sleek little rifle. In the actual chamber right now and the mag, we have some 55 grain Freedom Munition stuff. Check the coupon code down here at the bottom of your screen, guys, if you're looking to pick some up, but just some cheap practice stuff. And then we have some really nice rounds, loads coming up, match grade, that should be able to tighten these groups up. So target downrange at 100 yards, enough yapping from me, and let's see what it'll do. There you go, we'll stop it there at 5 rounds. Next up, we're gonna grab the stuff, blah, 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 there it is. Gorilla Ammunition 69 grain Sierra Match King OTM round. A very, very good, consistent round overall. Put 5 rounds of that on it and see what it can do. That looks pretty solid from here. That was the Gorilla. And next up, we'll grab the Federal. Again, this is the same bullet, just a different loading. So it's the 69 grain Sierra Match King. That Geissele trigger is insane, guys. There's no way doing this test that I can blame any missed shots on the trigger. The thing is nice. Alrighty. And I'll let the barrel cool down a little bit and kind of tell you a little bit about this Black Hills stuff. It's 55 grain, 77 grain, 5.56 chambering load. This round by Black Hills was actually developed sort of in conjunction with the Mk12 program, so it's kind of historically tied. Normally I don't use this in testing here, but I figured I had to go out and buy some. This stuff's like more than $1 a round, and it's kind of hard to find. And I figured I had to go out and buy some for this review, because if not, it just wouldn't be right, since the ammo there and the rifle were sort of developed together and are forever tied together. So we'll put 5 rounds of that downrange and see what it does. Let's go check it out. We'll go in the order that we shot them. We have the free munitions load here. And we definitely had some vertical stringing there. We're right at 1.75 inches on that one, on that group. And then we moved over to the Gorilla stuff. Gorilla is good ammo, guys. If you've never heard of it, definitely look into it. As you can see here, this thing shot lights out. We are right at maybe 0.6 inch group on that one. So it's under 3/4 for sure, which is the way it's tacked on there, but a little bit bigger than 1/2 inch. That's nuts. So can't be mad about that. Then we have the Federal load here. Center to center, we're at right about 1.25 inches. Yep, 1.25 inches on that one for sure. And then the Black Hills ammo over here. Right at just under 1.5 inches. So just under 1.5 inches of the Black Hills. The load that's made for it, who knows? Every rifle's different, of course, and every barrel's different. And I could probably shoot this test 5 more times and probably get 3 different results. So what we see, though, is very consistent accuracy. Even the cheap stuff coming under 2 inches, and the good stuff 1 inch or better for sure. So if you're looking for an accurate rifle, no doubt this thing will make some dime-sized groups if you've worked up a load.
Getting into the details of the rifle, we'll work our way from the back forward. On the back here, we do have the Veltor stock. This one has a ton of different features to it. I could really do a full review just on the stock alone. The compartment here, battery compartments here on the side of the stock, those will also give you a very good cheek weld as you're laying behind the rifle, doing precision shooting and stuff like that. It is adjustable all the way out. Of course, it's mil spec diameter, so no issues there at all in terms of working with different rifles. And one thing you'll see on the actual Mk12 variants out there is generally you're either going to see an A1 stock, A2 stock, or a lot of times you'll see the SOP mod stocks here from B5 Systems or LMT. So you do see some Veltor stocks out there. I've seen 2 pictures actually with those on there. But if you see collapsible, a lot of times it's the B5. But really, like I mentioned earlier, there's so many different variants out there that you guys will see in the wild. It's really hard to say. The buffer that comes in the complete rifle is actually a pretty cool little system here. It's the Bravo Company A5 kit. So what that comes with is the Veltor A5H0 buffer. That's the 3.8 ounce one. It also comes with the BCM intermediate extension, which is really kind of the key to it. It's very similar to the A5 extension or the new Magpul ones that are out. And the point of those is that they work with a wide variety of rifles. So they can work with either rifle length gas system, mid length gas system, and carbine length gas system. So a very adaptable system there. And of course, we also have the BCM QD sling endpoint there on the back of the receiver. It's got your mil-spec castle nut, of course. It is properly staked, and the spring in there is BCM's rifle action spring. So overall, even aside from having a very soft shooting upper receiver, just the lower and the A5 kit there really does make it a very smooth recoil impulse. BCM lower receivers are known for being some of the best in the industry for sure. Typical 7075 T6 aluminum, hard-coated anodized per mil spec. It also has a low shelf there, so if you ever want to run full auto one day, you're more than welcome to. It'll also work with Aki wedges and things like that. The grip that comes with it is the Mod 3 grip, so a little bit more of a vertical angle there. Definitely feels good in the hand when you're laying behind the rifle or even when you're shooting standing up. We have the BCM Enhanced Trigger Guard, so that way it's going to give you a little bit more room there. Definitely nice, particularly if you're wearing gloves or doing a lot of shooting. You won't get that rub on the bottom of your finger like you do with a lot of AR mil-spec triggers. And right here, we have the BCM Enhanced Mag Well, which I certainly like. I don't know why every company doesn't do that. I see no reason why not to. It just aids, gives you a little bit more room for error when doing magazine changes. The rifle comes with BCM's PNT trigger, which stands for Polished Nickel Teflon. Really a lot of cool things going on here. Of course, it's all mil-spec components, and the sear engagement surfaces are ground and then polished, so they're super smooth. But you're still going to get like a mil-spec trigger pull. This one here on my gauge was pulling right at a crisp 4 pounds with a nice positive reset, so that's what actually comes with the gun. However, you know, in true Mod0 fashion, we tried to go a little bit more authentic with the trigger, if you will. So the triggers over the years have come with Knight's Armament triggers, as well as several Geissele triggers, and one of the more common ones is the SSAE trigger, and that's the one we have here. This trigger is simply phenomenal. If you guys have never used it, it really makes it very easy to shoot the kind of groups we shot out there today, of course, provided ammunition and rifles will do their part. But it's got a little bit of play here in the initial portion where almost no resistance, and you hit a very clean wall. And then the break is nuts. It's probably right around 3 pounds, super smooth, super crisp. And the reset speaks for itself. Very positive, very short, and just allows you to put very accurate fire downrange repeatedly for a long time. And Geissele triggers, of course, have a great reputation in the industry, and it was a correct Mark 12 part. Moving on to the upper receiver, the actual upper receiver itself is typical BCM, again, 7075 T6 aluminum. It has the M4 feed ramp cuts and our little BCM logo here on the back. You can see the rear sight is a folding arms sight. It's got dual aperture, so a large one as well as a more narrow one. And the narrow one there has a little flat cut on it, and that allows it to be folded correctly. So to fold it, what you're going to do is pull up on this little lever right here, and then drop this back in, let it go under spring tension, and it hooks in to stow away. Of course, we have the PRI full-length rail on top, which is very common with the Mod0 rifles, and there's actually several variants of the top rail that have been out. I believe this is the Gen 3 version, but what you'll notice there is it is a little bit higher than the standard just air receiver. The charging handle on the Mark 12 is the Mod 4 BCM part. It has the extended latch here that you see. They're partnering with Volto for that, and of course the bolt carrier group is exactly what you'd expect from BCM, top notch. They set the standard for bolt carrier groups in the industry, in my opinion. So we have our 8620 chrome lined carrier here, full auto profile, of course, and the bolt itself is going to be 158 Carpenter steel, magnetic particle inspected, high pressure tested, shot peened, all that stuff. Just really, again, I have a video on the actual bolt carrier group, but needless to say, it sets the standard in the industry for sure. The handguard is the PRI handguard. It's a carbon fiber handguard. It has 1913 attachments on the 6, 3, and 9 o'clock positions. You can remove those if you want to save a little bit of weight though. But you know, that is how it comes from the factory. It's one of the strongest lockup systems really known out there on the market. And if you look with that continuous top rail, it really kind of locks it all in because it locks into the handguard as well as the upper receiver. It also has a very strong lockup system here where it mates with the upper receiver around the barrel nut. So in terms of durability, it's one of the strongest systems out there. Of course, the Mod 1 went to a little bit of a different system in terms of the top rail, but it did keep a very similar lockup system here where it mates with the upper receiver. And again, that's due to strength. And if you're using it in extreme harsh use conditions, which these rifles were designed for, you're going to want that. The Mod0 uses the PRI one-piece gas block as well as folding front sight base. It does have a rifle length gas system, which in addition to the A5 system we talked about earlier, really makes it a super, super soft shooting rifle. Front sight folds out of the way by pushing down the button on the left side, dropping it down. You can see it's got a little bit of play to it, but it's a very solid lockup system, and you're just going to push it back in if you want to have it up, and it locks into place. Again, a little bit of play, but very solid system overall. Some interesting things going on here on the end of the barrel. Of course, the barrel itself is a Mark 12 contour barrel. It has a 1-in-8 twist. It's 410 stainless steel, and it has the OpSync collar here. What that's for is for the suppressor that was designed to come with the rifle, and that you guys have seen in a couple of the pictures that we've rolled in. It's the OpSync suppressor, and that collar actually acts as a taper mount when you screw it on here, and you can do that with the Mark 12 mount here. This one's actually made by BCM, but it is a true copy, if you will. It's a true copy of the original one. You can see it has the BCM logo on there as well as the shims, but the suppressor actually threads on there, and part of the suppressor actually goes underneath the brake, or over the brake I should say, which is nice because it sort of decreases the overall length of the rifle. So that's actually where the end of the barrel stops, is right here, and this is the brake and the collar that all work together with that OpSync suppressor. In terms of optics that were used on the rifle, most of them were medium power scopes. So generally speaking, the two most common are going to be the Leupold 3.5 to 10 power, as well as the Night Force 2.5 to 10 power. So somewhere in that medium range, typical SPR type optic. However, you've seen several of them used throughout the video here. I believe I've seen them used with Elcans. I actually saw one that was doing airborne operations that had an M68 on it. So you'll see all different types of thing on there. I actually saw a TA31 as well. Throughout this video, we've predominantly used the Primary Arms Platinum Series ACSS 1x8, which again is a very, sort of SPR, DMR-ish type of optic. So certainly is capable of reaching out a distance, as well as, clearing a building should you have to do so. In terms of accessories that you see up front, very often you'd see a PEQ2 or PEQ2 mounted up here on the right side, particularly in the early days of the wars. Of course, that's evolved into PEQ15s and such in the more recent years, but you generally would see a Knight's Armament vertical grip like this, and then a bipod up front. On the Mod 0s and Mod 1s, generally that was a Harris bipod. On a lot of the Mod H or Mod Hotels, it's going to be this Atlas bipod that you see here. So again, in the field, it's actually varied quite a bit, but I believe the Harris bipods were the issue for all of them, but I've definitely seen a lot of Atlas bipods in photos out there. That covers most of the details of the rifle. Of course, a few things we need to point out is going to be weight, because that's one thing everyone's always concerned with ARs, particularly with Mk12s. So that Mod 1s went with a little bit different rail system, and that did lighten it up a little bit. They're just under 9 pounds, generally speaking, without optics. This one here, on my scale anyway, came in at 9 pounds and 3 ounces, so it's certainly not a lightweight AR variant. And of course, that's due to the rail system that you see here, as well as the Mk12 barrel and barrel profile. So that, though, can also be an advantage. So if you're in like a designated marksman type role, having very quick follow-up shots is very easy to do with this rifle due to the weight, the rifle length gas system, and the A5 system that we have there in the stock. Really, it stays on target really, really well, whether or not you're using a suppressor or if you're just utilizing the brake here on the end of the rifle. So having quick follow-up shots, accurate follow-up shots, really is where this rifle excels for sure. But of course, it is a little bit heavier than some of the other ARs out there on the market. Additionally, something that folks might not like is going to be the cost of these. Now, for years, these rifles were not available at all in factory configuration as rifles, and people were either building them from different parts or buying just the uppers and slapping it on a lower. Now, most lowers that were used out there in the field were Colt. There's some Armalites, and there's a few others out there, but of course this one with the BCM lower is quite nice. And with the collapsible stock here, I think they're coming in right around $2,400. Of course, we'll put links down below so you guys can check that out. And with the fixed stock, I think they're like $2,300-ish. So that's one of the reasons I waited a while to get this one, because certainly it's not cheap. However, there's a lot of coolness to it. Obviously, it's a sweet shooter. It's been 100% reliable, as you'd expect with any type of ammo to it. But to be able to have the sort of military history in your hands, even though it is relatively current military history, I know over in Syria and Iraq right now, we've seen pictures of the Mk12 still out there, even though they were supposed to have been replaced. The troops really like them. So you'll still see them out there in service. So it's sort of military history as well as current military usage. To be able to own that and experience it really is kind of cool in my opinion. If you guys have any questions about this rifle that we didn't cover in the video, by all means post below down in the comments section. You can also post over at my Facebook page as always. And if you're interested in that Mk12 history like I talked about, definitely check out that AR15.com thread. Very, very comprehensive amount of information there. And I think that'll pretty much do it. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. And we'll see you in the next video.